Rob Lowe, you know Rob Lowe, the actor, he said in his podcast that in his 1980s Brat Pack wild years, he recorded an unreleased demo with Toto while extremely high on cocaine. Yeah. Now, importantly, no public recording has ever surfaced, and Rob Lowe did not provide much in the way of details. But he did cop to this.
You are listening to Tape Spaghetti, the podcast about the twisted and tangled innards of the music industry. Some of this content may not be for all listeners or viewers, so if it's not for you, no harm, no foul. We'll just catch you on the next one. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go.
Welcome back, dear listener or watcher, viewer, I think they call them in the more professional sides of the industry than this one, to another episode of Tape Spaghetti. I am Scott Marcourt with a new background. Still some guitars. Now it's green because I'm at an all-new place. And this, opposite me, this handsome gentleman with more mustache than ever, is the great Blake Weiland with the same background as ever.
Yes. Yeah. What people kind of know, because I talked about it in the episode. It's weird, right? Because we released an episode last week, but it was not a normal Tape Spaghetti episode because it was Marcourtless. As if you caught that one, you know, that's why. We pulled an episode from my other show, The Tone Mob, to fill in with a Stringjoy artist, JD Simo. But I thought it was fitting because we talked about film and like how he like worked on movies and like pieces. I like bringing things that people don't know about the music industry to this podcast. And I think a lot of people don't know that these kinds of roles exist. And he like did a good job of explaining it. So that was a good Tape Spaghetti episode, I think. But now we're back. We're back on track with the regular thing. And I'm excited to see what we can get into with Scott returning.
I love that stuff that you do, like talking about interesting corners of the musical world that I wouldn't necessarily know that much about. Like the JD stuff is so cool with him, like teaching people how to play guitar because they're going to be on a movie playing guitar and need to know how to play guitar at least enough to, you know, make it look like the sounds JD's making with his guitar are coming out of their guitar.
Yes. It was kind of funny because he was talking about, like, I didn't teach him how to play guitar. I taught him how to play a few Springsteen songs so that it would look right on camera. Like, he doesn't know how to play guitar now, but he knows how to like form those chords in a way that is convincing.
Yeah, exactly. I saw the guy who plays the slide guitar, kind of the Robert Johnson character in the movie Sinners, I guess, like learned the guitar in 3 months prior to the filming of that. I don't know the whole story of it all. Now, granted, I think that it's like maybe slightly easier when they're like, we need you to learn this one song on guitar.
Right.
Not how to play anything, just how to play like exactly this one song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't need you to improvise. We don't want you to become proficient at scales. Just do this one thing for us.
Just this one thing. Like, I think in 3 months, like I could learn how to play drums to one song really well.
Yeah. I'd be convincing at it. Convincing enough for Hollywood anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You mess with that tempo at all and I'm lost, man. But I got that one.
That's right. 3 months is enough time to figure that out.
It depends on which drummer you're trying to ape. And if that drummer were perhaps Jeff Porcaro, that might be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. You might have a little bit of a tough time trying to ape some Neil Peart in 3 months. That's going to be difficult. Mm-hmm.
Be a little bit tricky, but you figure it out. And the reason that I mentioned Jeff Porcaro as one of the great many incredible drummers that have existed in history is because that ties in directly to our subject today, dear Blake.
Oh, boy. I'm ready for it.
You were telling me off camera before we started taping that you don't know nothing outside of the rains and their blessings from the story of Toto.
That is accurate. It's possible that I did know some stuff and have just deleted that from my ever full hard drive that I call my brain. But at this moment, it's a blank slate, baby.
Wow. I'm excited to tell you about the story. They're a pretty interesting band. I think that like the band itself is its own thing. And if it was just the band, you'd be like, why the heck are we talking about them? But the way that they came together and the various careers of all of the members that kind of intertwined in this one singular project, I think is really, really super unique.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's kind of telling that, like I said, I don't know anything about them other than the Rains in Africa and Steve Lukather. Those are the things I know about them. And why do I know Steve Lukather? Well, because he's one of the guitar greats, and that is the business that we're in. So,
and he is very much one of the members of Toto.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it. You know one. Can you name any other of the members? Well, I guess I gave you one.
I mean, yeah, you gave me Porcaro, but yeah.
Well, there's 3 Porcaros.
Well, there's 3. Okay, well, no would be the answer to that then.
Okay. Well, do you want me to tell you the story? Are you ready?
Hold on. Buckled in.
Whew.
Pants are zipped.
God knows what that looked like before, but I'm glad that everything's all sealed up now.
Yeah, we're all secure.
Okay, perfect. Well, in the dark of my new office, let's get into it. All right, so Toto starts in Los Angeles. Pretty much most of their story is really intertwined with Los Angeles and the LA studio and music scene. But David Paich, who we'll start out with, grew up in Los Angeles as the son of the arranger and composer Marty Paich. The Porcaro brothers, of which there are 3, by the way. I mentioned Jeff Porcaro, but there's also Steve Porcaro and Mike Porcaro. They all came out of a deeply musical household as well. Their dad was drummer and percussionist Joe Porcaro, who played in a bunch of bands as well. So both of the kind of like core pieces of the band Toto come out of like Los Angeles musicians. They're born in Los Angeles. They grew up in Los Angeles. Their family played music. They started playing music. They're ensconced.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't quite say nepo babies, but they know where they're coming from. They know what to do.
Got it.
And that happens a lot too in general, whether you're an actor or something. Even if if your parent was like a less successful musician or actor or something, they still know the people to talk to. They know stuff that would take you like 20 years to figure out on your own.
I mean, this is a lot different industry and scene than what we're talking about right now, but even my 10-year-old's like, so what if I wanted to start a podcast? I'm like, well, I know a thing or two about that.
You know all the answers. Exactly. Yeah. So all these guys, plus Steve Lukather, David Paich, Jeff Porcaro, Steve Porcaro, Mike Porcaro, they all kind of moved in and around the Grant High School and San Fernando Valley orbit. Lukather said that Jeff Porcaro himself became a bit of a mentor to him, even at that young age, like in high school, and was exposing him to the idea of like, hey, you could actually work in music. You could be a session musician. Like you could get a real job in this, which is not something you always know. Everyone that starts playing music fantasizes about being on a stage, with like all the lights on you, and you're the band name is your name and you're the big star. But it's not something that like every 12-year-old knows that like, you can like punch a clock. You can join the musicians union and go in and clock in and get paid for playing sessions of all different varieties. And so he's being exposed to this pretty early and has a bit of an into knowing the right people. Because if you were 15 and a phenom, you wouldn't necessarily know who to talk to if you didn't have some family friends or family themselves that could open the doors for you to be playing in that little world.
Yeah. And that's something I'm actually like kind of as I don't know if passionate is the right word, but something I like to reiterate whenever it comes up, because I also thought that. I thought, I love music and I want to be in the music industry, but I don't want to be in a touring band. That sounds awful. That was not for me. I didn't think about like, there's literally like thousands of other jobs.
Yeah,
that you could
tons.
Do. Yeah. So to varying degrees of, pay, of course.
I was going to say, so long as you're comfortable living at or below the poverty line, there are a variety of careers in music for you and the ones you know.
That's right. But I might have chosen that, in my early days, at least to like just to see what it's like. But I knew I didn't want to tour. So I just kind of said, well, I guess none of that's for me then, because I can't do any of it. But there are other options. That's what I like to reiterate.
There are bunches of them. So basically, to kind of paint the picture, in this like high school and valley orbit, a lot of these guys are playing in bands. They're playing with each other. They're also playing with other people, but they're like sort of bizarrely serious about this stuff for being a couple of like, later teenagers. They're into it. They really, really mean business more than just like you forming a band to cover, Green Day or something later on.
Yes.
So they're all kind of poised for success in some ways. You know, you're like, these guys are gonna really do it. And the first one of them to break out is Jeff Porcaro. Even as a teenager, he starts recording and eventually touring with Sonny and Cher, who are huge at this time, like absolutely huge. And he's really successful at this. He becomes a super in-demand drummer on the backs of being, you know, the guy that played with Sonny and Cher. So he starts working with Seals and Crofts and Steely Dan and eventually Boz Scaggs, which we'll get into more. But a lot of that, what would come to be known as yacht rock world.
Yeah.
He is plugged in. He's there from the start, and everyone's calling on him. Mm-hmm. David Paich, who we mentioned as well, he was pretty heavyweight early on, even before Toto as well. He became a major keyboardist and a writer and arranger. He's really like the guy that's the master songsmith behind a lot of this stuff. And he's writing songs for Cheryl Lynn, again, Boz Scaggs, George Benson, and a bunch of others. He's becoming pretty in demand. Steve Porcaro is the synth and keyboard specialist ultimately, and he's leaving high school at the age of 17 back at this point to join Gary Wright's Dreamweaver tour. You know Dreamweaver.
Oh, yeah. I do know that one, actually.
I don't want to get sued. Anyway, it's a bop.
It's
and of course, he eventually starts doing some studio stuff as well, which we'll get into. Another fellow that we haven't talked about yet is David Hungate. He's a little bit older than the rest of these guys, and he's a little bit more jazz schooled. He came from Texas. He studied at North Texas State, played with the 1 O'Clock Lab Band, and appeared at the 1970 Montreux Jazz Festival before starting to do like more session work in Nashville and then eventually LA, which is kind of how he comes into the orbit as well. And the final piece, Bobby Kimball, he comes from kind of a whole different lane than the rest of these guys. The guys that would eventually become like the band of Toto are pretty tight knit from going back many years with the addition of David Hungate, of course. But Bobby Kimball, who is sort of nominally the lead vocalist of Toto, doesn't come from that world at all. He starts playing in like Louisiana club band circuits, eventually moves to Los Angeles, and he joins a band called SS Fools, which was a short-lived group that was formed by a couple of different members from Three Dog Night. So Three Dog Night separates. They start this band SS Fools. They bring in Bobby Kimball to sing. He's really great at this like kind of Southern rock blues R&B thing in that world. And these guys are mostly the other members of Toto. They mostly get to know him by sitting in on these SS Fools rehearsals. The sense that I get is that like this is one of those bands because of the Three Dog Night association with a lot of the members that like kind of everyone's expecting to be big at this time, and a lot of people are like fixing their eye upon. But it doesn't really shake into anything. Doesn't quite happen. Even Toto refers to them as a failed band, which I thought was odd. Like on like the liner notes where Toto's describing their own biography, they're like, he came from the failed band SS Fools. And I'm like, oh, that's a stark way to put it.
That's a little harsh. I mean, what is a failed band? Did they make a record? Because I mean, that's a win in my book.
I don't believe there's a record. Not that I found.
Well,
maybe there's something, but
maybe it truly was a failed band.
It sounds like they put it together, and then I guess that is what a failed band is. Mm-hmm. They're rehearsing, but there's not really touring. There's no record. It just ends.
It's probably only a failure if you intend to do all that stuff and it doesn't happen. There's nothing wrong with jamming with your buddies in the garage.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They ain't doing that. These are guys from the business that come from the business. They know what they're doing. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. So all these guys are kind of on their own individual paths, and a good chunk of them ultimately kind of unite in the same place to make what some could consider the first Toto record, except it isn't a Toto record. It's the great, and I love this album so much, it's the album Silk Degrees by Boz Scaggs.
Okay.
How familiar are you with Boz Scaggs?
Mostly in name, but I've heard the name a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually not that familiar with him growing up. When I went to college, my dear friend Wade, his mom loved Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees and played it all the time. And so it was one of his, top 10 records, and he played it a lot. And I came to know and love it through that. It's a masterpiece. So I don't want to make this sound wrong, but it's kind of schmaltzy. It's yacht rocky. It's kind of what you'd imagine coming out of that scene, but it's great. The song Lowdown is a huge hit off this record. Ultimately, not to give it away because I'll tell the story of it. Lido Shuffle, I don't know does that ring a bell to you?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, try this. Lido, oh, 100 times, Lido, you know the song.
I might. I might know it.
Anonymous listeners out there, please yell at a wall for me that Blake knows this song. Everyone knows the song. It's a huge hit.
Yell at me in the comment section if you must.
All right. Please, listeners, yell at my dear partner, Blake. I need your help with this. Anyway, sessions for this incredible album, just take my word for it if you don't know, began in 1975 at Davlin Sound Studios. Producer is Joe Wissert. And key personnel include David Paich, who we mentioned earlier as a songwriter and a great, player, Jeff Porcaro, and David Hungate, who I mentioned coming out of the Nashville and eventually LA session world. So we've got like kind of the nucleus of Toto all enlisted here to be kind of the band that's playing on this project. Engineer Tom Perry, when he was talking about these sessions, they're like, how did this album happen? And he said it's one of those rare cases where you have the perfect artist, the perfect musicians around him, the perfect songs, and the perfect vibe. Just everything clicking all at once in this one place to make this album. And for me, the rest of the Boz Scaggs discography, well, there's some good stuff there. Like this is the album. This is the high watermark album for sure of Boz Scaggs' career.
The crown jewel.
It's funny how often that can happen where a band puts out an album where you're like, every song on here rips, man. Everything is great. And then it's hard to recapture that level of perfection, I guess. Yeah,
lightning in a bottle sometimes.
But David Paich specifically has a huge role in the making of Silk Degrees. Boz Scaggs hears his playing and his songwriting, and he's so impressed that he asked him to not just play on the album, but to also write for the album. So Paich ended up co-writing or writing much, if not all of the material, including Lowdown and Lido Shuffle, the two big hits on it. So he's not just a sideman. He's like involved in crafting all of the music that's going on at this point. Lowdown is especially like kind of the again, I already said high watermark, but like this really great and interesting rhythmic song that's happening. Jeff Porcaro is absolutely nailing the drums. Louis Shelton's playing guitar, playing around it. He's playing live with the groove to really get this like organic, actual really awesome feel. Hungate's bass is really, really awesome. A lot of them are playing live on it. You can hear this band just clicking. Like they are just starting to nail it. And when I say band, I really mean like a couple of different hired people that are there in the studio to make this record. They are not a band.
Right. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Allegedly, for those of you that do know the song Lowdown, one of the stories of this era is that the lyrics for Lowdown were apparently not even really finished when they started cutting the vocals. They kind of just pieced them together as they were going, like literally like, we need another verse. We already recorded the first verse. Let's make another verse.
Quick, write something.
Yeah, but you can do that when the guy that's writing the material and the guy that's singing the material are right there because they're all there in the studio working on it together. When you have a writer and they've already finished the song and then everyone's coming in with it, you don't have that same sort of organic feedback loop.
I've actually done this myself before.
Yeah. So interestingly, I mean, this album comes out and it's a huge hit. Like I said, Lido Shuffle and Lowdown are massive hits, but there's a bunch of great songs on the record. Sells a lot. It really makes kind of Boz Scaggs' career. And it's interesting for this group of studio musicians who are incredibly talented because not only are they playing intricate parts and writing these really cool songs, but they're hits. They're getting radio play. They're getting chart success. Like it is that kind of parallel where there's a lot of talented musicians out there, but it's kind of rarer when you see them figure out a recipe that like it makes money. It gets radio play. It becomes a real thing. Yeah.
Sometimes the people who are very talented and skilled don't get the recognition of the general public, but sometimes they do.
Frequently. Yeah. So this record is really kind of this defining moment. And even years later, fans kind of referred to Boz Scaggs as the father of Toto. And he himself, years later, kind of partly accepted that designation.
I like it.
But because what you really have is like these guys coming together at this particular time, clicking in such an incredible way. They make this incredible album. And you imagine that there's some discussions around them of like, well, that was a sweet project, man. Everything really, really worked. You guys are fun to play with. I guess we'll never do that again.
Right.
Or on to working for other artists. Or what if we didn't?
Yeah. What if we went ahead and did that again?
Yeah, exactly. Now, interestingly, Steve Lukather, is playing in, Steve Lukather and Steve Porcaro. Of course, like Steve Porcaro is known to Jeff Porcaro because they're brothers already. Sure. They knew Lukather as well, but they're playing in Boz Scaggs' live band. So Paige Hungate and Jeff Porcaro, they cut the session, and that's kind of it for them. But then Steve Lukather, that is, and Steve Porcaro are going out and playing all these songs live. So this whole clique of friends that have known each other a long time are super involved in all sides of the Boz Scaggs stuff, even though like Steve Lukather and Steve Porcaro aren't playing on that record with the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's all one big happy family.
Yeah, it's strange for these guys that already knew each other, you know. And right around this time, Bobby Kimball, who I mentioned, he's playing with the SS Fools. That kind of fizzles out. And all these guys that all know each other are like, well, shoot, what do we do now?
We form a band?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting about this is that like the chemistry is gelling there in 1976. They're like, you know, all, you know, hanging out and continuing to play with each other. But they don't really like, at what point does it cross into like, we're a band? We've already been playing together. We've known each other for years. We just played together on this project. I imagine that it's kind of a diffuse moment where you're like, oh, we're a band now. Is that what we've been doing? Hanging out and writing songs and playing them together? I guess we're a band.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, when it's for another artist, though, that's like not, I mean, I'm sure Boz Scaggs feels like part of the circle in some ways, but when it's not that, you know, you're kind of working on a mission together, and then you complete the mission and you're all like, but we did really well. I guess there has to be a discussion at some point of like, how are we going to do this again now that this project's over?
Yeah, and you have this interesting moment too, where, and to my knowledge, this is like the first moment of this happening. I'm sure that it's happened elsewhere, but it's certainly the most successful one, where you have all these studio musicians that are involved, and you know, Boz Scaggs, who's a great talent, comes in, but these guys are like, we're writing the songs, we're playing the songs, we're helping to give, you know, tips and techniques on how to make the thing, but it's not our music,
right?
It's that guy's music. It's that guy that came in. He's going to go tour on this and you know, be a big hit. But you imagine when that guy leaves and goes out on tour to, you know, all wealth and fame and whatnot. Some of you guys are like, wait, what? Why can't we do this? We pretty much just did it.
Yeah, we did it for him.
Yeah, why can't we be the band? Like, we could do this with anybody. We just need a singer. We just need somebody that isn't Boz Scaggs, because he's already Boz Scaggs.
Right.
And so that's what led them to start a band. Now, one interesting note, before Bobby Kimball came on board and became the singer of Toto, they actually asked Michael McDonald to be the lead singer of Toto. And by all accounts, he probably would have done it, but he had just, and I mean like the week before, he had just signed up to join the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah. That's going to be a little conflict of interest there.
Yeah. So there's this bizarro world where Michael McDonald is the lead singer of Toto.
That'd be crazy.
Instead of Rosanna, you get Rosanna.
It might have sounded cool though.
And again, you know, all of this world, there is a good yacht-rock documentary that's like a good kind of like quick summary of this world in LA in the late 70s. But all these guys are playing together, you know, like Michael McDonald's involved in all the Steely Dan stuff, or a lot of the Steely Dan stuff. So are these guys. Like everyone's in and out. They all know each other.
This is how all like major music scenes go. They're never as big as it may look from the outside. You know, and talking to like Tracy Guns and stuff, he's like, oh yeah, I played on all kinds of records because sometimes I was only sober one at midnight. So
yeah, it's just this cool organic thing where you know, a dozen or 24 guys in their 20s figure out they like to hang out and do a bunch of cocaine together, and then you know, all this art happens. Yeah,
New York scene happened there,
LA scene, Miami scene. Yeah.
There's a thread.
There is a bit of a
white line, you might call it.
Now, the band name itself, Toto, has multiple explanations. The sort of like most direct one is just that they were watching The Wizard of Oz and were like, oh, Toto. That's short and distinctive and memorable and all that. The band has told a number of different stories around this. I believe that it was Steve Lukather that once was saying like they used to refer to something like being done in toto, like in total.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's that. I don't know. It's not really all that interesting of a story to me. But I'm going with the Wizard of Oz bit.
That's where I assumed it came from. So we'll go with that. Yeah.
Anyway, so the band's got members, the band's got a name, and the band starts writing songs and recording songs. They're kind of like, because they're so in this orbit already, they're kind of going straight to recording. It's kind of like where you're working on it for the tape. They're not playing and jamming as much live from what I can tell. So they've got like the now classic original six of Toto: Bobby Kimball, David Hungate, Steve Lukather, David Page, Jeff Porcaro, and Steve Porcaro. The interesting thing that like always exists with the paradox of Toto is that you have this astonishingly like polished musicianship that is like rather nakedly aiming for radio hits.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Big time.
That's
why it was like, I found out this is because I'm, obviously we are the age that we are. We were not alive during this time period. I found out about Steve Lukather as a guitarist before I realized he was part of Toto. If that makes any sense. So I was like, oh man, this guy's incredible. He shreds. What a legend. And I was like, why is he famous though? I had to like find out why I knew who he was, because I would just see him in guitar magazines and in guitar media and being talked about as this incredible musician, and had to find out. I'm like, and I remember being like, Toto? Huh.
Yeah, I know. I had that same thing. Like the guy from Toto is like, the guy, but he's done so much studio work.
So
I mean, all
much
these
stuff.
guys have, right?
Yeah.
Got to pay the bills.
The point is they knew what they were doing though. They could shred. They could have done a thrash metal record if they wanted to, but that wasn't their thing. They were aiming for what they were aiming for.
Anyway, the band cooks up their debut album, and they're immediately signed to Columbia Records. Like they know all the people. They're in the industry. There's not this whole like big hunting of like, oh, we're gonna all move to New York so that we can start playing on the club circuit and get some buzz, and then we got some labels. Like no, they know exactly what to do. The Columbia is like, here's the deal. Record the album. We're gonna put it out. We all know you guys. You're pretty good. And it was a smart bet because the debut contains Hold the Line. Hold the Line.
Yeah, I do know that one. Yeah. Yep.
Love Isn't Always on Time. I'll Supply the Love and Georgie Porgy, which I find Georgie Porgy on a later listen to be kind of weird, maybe a little creepy.
I don't love that song.
Georgie Porgy pudding pie, kiss the girls and make them cry.
I know that's like an old nursery rhyme, but
yeah, it is.
The nursery rhyme itself is weird.
It's weird. I agree. Yeah. It's not one that I would like go to be like, boy, I want to write a song about that. I relate to this so deeply.
It was like, then the boys show up and beat up Georgie basically because he's a creep.
Exactly. But it feels appropriate for this late 70s sheeny yacht rock world.
Yeah. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I remember as a child being like, this is an odd nursery rhyme. I don't really understand why this is in this book, but sure, whatever. Different times, strange. I guess. Yeah.
One interesting thing about Toto right from the beginning, and this continued all the way through their history, is that Bobby Kimball is like considered the lead singer of Toto, but they all sing. Like even on the debut album, I think almost all of them have at least one song that they sing lead on.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so they're very much distributing the vocal load throughout the band. But they still have Bobby as kind of the face of it all, but they're, Steve Lukather sings on Toto stuff. Plenty. Okay. They all can sing. And when they're not just singing lead, they're all singing something. There's a lot of harmonies. Those mics are getting a lot of use on the Toto records. There's no amount of vocal harmony that is too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just think of the big hit, Africa.
We're getting to Africa. Don't bring up Africa yet.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry.
My God. At this point, Hold the Line is a bop at this time. Like this takes them off. These things are getting radio play. They're getting a lot of attention. They're breaking a lot of rules, like I was saying. Multiple singers, multiple songwriters, multiple styles and genre, all that sound like Toto, but still, they're definitely, to my modern ear, you'll hear like this kind of Seals and Crofty bit, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, everything's very smooth and crystal and clear. And then it'll be time for a guitar solo. And then Lukather's got like a ton of dirt on. It's like, and it works. I mean, I think Steely Dan kind of opened that door already.
Sure.
But it's sometimes strange to my ear now. I would think like, oh no, it's a little bit weird to have like a dimed full stack that's compressed to heck on this like song. That's not what I would reach for now. But also this is the era where like it just is assumed. Doesn't matter the genre of the song. Of course, we're going to have a really, really crunchy guitar doing a, you know, theatrical solo in the middle of it. Doesn't matter.
You got to. That's what
Ballad,
the people want.
Hard rockin' song. It doesn't matter. That's what we're doing. Always. And it's easy to, not to go into this tangent, but it's always easy to me. People like malign the loss of the guitar solo. And I'm like, it got overdone. I'm not saying there's no use for it, but like every song doesn't need a guitar solo. It's kind of hokey that every song had a guitar solo in it.
Well, and we also came up in the generation where a lot of our favorites growing up and now don't necessarily, well, they're guitar forward songs. They don't necessarily have just some huge solo in it. And a lot of the songs I like wouldn't be better for it. So I don't know. I love a good guitar solo. I of course do, but it doesn't need to be everywhere. It
doesn't always need to be everywhere. I very much agree. Anyway, this is a big success. And funnily enough, I mean, the band had never played live before they were a huge hit.
Okay.
They're getting radio play and like, oh, we got to go out and tour. They had never done that. They built all this stuff in the studio where these guys had been living forever. So they kind of have to figure that out on the road, not as like a tiny band playing on the club circuit and getting their, you know, dusting their chops off. Like they're playing big gigs all of a sudden out of nowhere.
But they've done it before, just not as this project.
Some of them had, yeah, a lot of them had some level of live work, definitely more studio stuff on them, but they had more live chops than, well, most of us.
Than me.
Yeah, same. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
The critical reaction to Toto is not the best. It's not like the worst, but it's pretty much like they're reading what they are, where they're like a bunch of studio cats made this thing. It's little, they're all a little too good. It's a little too polished. The hooks are too perfect. It feels like what we would probably these days be like, you know, what in the AI hell is this?
Right. Right.
But back then, you know, it's still pretty novel to be like, oh, wow, it's perfect. You know, we're not quantizing the waveforms to make the drums sound perfect. That's just how good that guy is. Now it sounds boring because it's easy to do that. Yeah.
And it's up to modern listeners. It's almost been overdone. So it's refreshing to hear somebody like, oh, like your pick of 2025 Geese, where it's not perfect, you know?
Yeah.
That's
it's
interesting that way. Yeah,
totally. So this is a great hit in all ways and working well for everybody, except for, I guess, the press. Rolling Stone, sorry, one note before I segue. Rolling Stone said it was basically like their music was just an excuse between guitar solos. I'm paraphrasing, but they're like, this is just, it's all how do we get from solo to solo and to keyboard solo and all of the solos. All these guys are dying to show you how good they can play their instrument.
Hey, that's fair, man. When you're that
Put a
good,
little music in there and then boom, drum solo, keyboard solo, guitar solo, other keyboard solo. No, that's the synth guy, not the keyboard guy. They're different. Everyone can play so many notes you won't believe it.
Yeah, I get it. We've got some modern bands kind of like that.
We do. We do. So after the success of the debut album, they go to record their next one. And this one comes out in 1979. It's called Hydra. It's more elaborate. They kind of tilt towards prog in some of this. It does yield one kind of minor or moderate hit, the song 99. But otherwise it doesn't, it's not reclaiming the success of the debut. Exactly. There's not,
I mean, if you call your album Hydra, you've kind of got to go prog with it. It's required, probably. It
feels like, it feels like a prog record. So they do that. And then, you know, it doesn't KO their career or anything, but it's not really building on the success of the debut album. So they go into make album number 3. And on this one, it's called Turn Back. It comes out in 1981. They're kind of trying to respond to the criticism of them being, I don't know the right way to put it, a bunch of wusses out there making this yacht rock. And they're like, no, we're gonna toughen up. We're going to show them, this is the 80s. We're starting to see some dangerous rock and roll, People don't want Seals and Croft as much anymore. They want something with some edge.
They want some dangerous rock and roll made by men in makeup who wear spandex and tease their hair. Wait a minute.
Real straight men, burly men.
Burly men.
With wearing assless chaps. And doing the splits.
Yes.
Yeah. What a wild time the 80s are in a lot of ways.
It's very contradictory in a lot of ways.
And so Toto jumps on. They're leaning harder into the guitar world. It's more of like a rock album. They're kind of trying to punch harder and polish a little less.
Sure. Okay. All right.
One funny thing, when they were like being confronted, in various ways with the press of like, what kind of band do you want to be? Because we've got like this initial radio bop record, and then we go a little prog, and then we go a little rock. Toto's response to what band they want to be is effectively all of the bands. We are all of the bands, and we can do it because we were all studio musicians. We used to play. We played in a wide variety of stuff. We know how to do all of it, and in our main band, we're gonna do all of it.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why limit yourself?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like, I think this is one of the knocks on Toto a little bit, is you're like, I get it. You can do it all.
I guess, yeah, if you're like, I'm in the mood for Toto, it's like, which one? Mm-hmm. Which version? It's a little harder to pin down.
Yeah. So anyway, still, we're kind of not reclaiming the success of the first Toto record at this point. And we're 3 albums in, which is like a ways to be into your career. Labels aren't just going to give you, even if you had one success, you don't have like unlimited leash. This stuff costs money. They want to see some hits. And if they're like, okay, you're on the downslide, then they're going to let you bleed it out or drop you or whatever. Like they care about your momentum, right?
Yeah.
Yep, this is to say that the 4th album is kind of a do or die record for these guys. It's like, are we going to really make something happen here? Or was that kind of it? Because they've all got other options. A lot of bands keep playing forever and they eventually, make it to like the county fair circuit because that's how they make money. That's the only way they really have. Yep. That's not really the case with these guys. These are all incredible musicians. They can just hang it up and go work with whoever they want.
Right. Yeah. If it's over, if the band is over, their careers are not necessarily over.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's your band, man. You want to.
Yeah. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah. So they're successful. They're not untouchable. They're kind of looking to make this all really happen. In a lot of ways. The reports from the time was that the label was pressuring them about their commercial stagnation, as I've kind of alluded. And basically we're like, hey, you guys need to go bigger. Yeah. Let's do this thing. Don't go safe. Go big. Steve Lukather later kind of sums up this mindset, saying they were trying to make the biggest, most overproduced record imaginable. Excuse me. Sorry. I forgot how to speak the English language right there.
That happens
sometimes. Imaginable. So they would not get dropped. Right. So they're hitting it hard. And they go in to make the album that would eventually become Toto IV, IV, if you will.
Yes.
It reflects that ambition. In a lot of ways. It was recorded across Sunset Sound, Record One, and Abbey Road for Strings. Additional sessions at what they called Hog Manor, which was David Page's home studio. Not a quick record, this one. It is. They're making their Chinese Democracy, except it actually came out. They are layering a lot of stuff. They're baking a cake here. They're not making pancakes.
Yep. Yeah, they're going for it.
The engineering team that's involved in this matters like a ton to this record. The official credits list, Al Schmidt, Tom Knox, Greg Ladagny, I don't know how to say his name, I feel silly, as the key engineers with Ladagny mixing. Toto IV is remembered, I should say, not just for like its songs, but for the production. That's really what kind of makes it. Like it's there's an incredible depth of sound. There's a lot of clarity to it. It's a very hi-fi record. And there's a lot of scale to it. The band, to that effect, also brings in a lot of guests on this. So they've got Lenny Castro, Timothy Schmidt, Tom Kelly, Joe Porcaro, James Newton Howard, amongst others. And even Mike Porcaro, the other Porcaro that we haven't mentioned in a little while, appears on cello on Good For You. So they've got They got all the engineers, like 4 of them, 3 of them. They've got all the guests. They've got all the Precaros.
And two of the most famous studios of all time.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. If not more. Probably a fair bit of budget. One might imagine.
I don't think anybody's doing this for free.
Uh-huh. And let's talk through a few of the songs that are on here because you might recognize them. So David Paich is writing one of the, these various songs that he's writing. I sense that this guy's writing all the time. Like he's a real like songwriter dude. And he's got this kind of sketch of a song. But it's not, he doesn't know exactly where to go with it. So Bobby Kimball and Steve Lukather hear it and they're like, that's pretty cool. Let's like really work on that. So they help kind of reshape it. They change the key. They make it work so that the verses and choruses could be split more evenly between different voices. And this song becomes Rosanna.
Yeah.
Classic.
Rosanna. I do know this song. Yes.
Allegedly it was named for Rosanna Arquette, though like, just there's nothing more to say about it than that. That's just, they're like, yeah, I don't know if she was on the TV or what.
Okay. That happens. Yeah.
That's the sense that I got from it. This song it's really something. It is, it's every bit of like a Broadway production. There is a lot happening.
This reflects everything that I'm enjoying going through this. And when you're like, you don't know Toto? I'm like, no, I don't know Toto. I just know the one song. And it's like, oh, wait, no, I know that one. Oh, yeah. I know that one. And this song in particular, I thought this was coming based on your description of the production because I didn't know which record it was on. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you were telling me all the stuff, I was like, I bet this album has Rosanna on it, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And that like drum loop that leads into the chorus is like, boom, pick you all the way. Ba-da-da. It's Rosanna again. There's like 28 people singing on this thing. It's absolutely all of the everything that could possibly be thrown.
It seems like a very difficult song to pull off live.
Oh God, yeah, it certainly would be. I heard it. I've seen them play at a NAMM once in 2015 or 2016.
Oh really?
So yeah, they manage. I mean, they're all really good. So they do figure it out, but it's a lot of stuff. And it's credit to the engineers for taking what must be like a 150 track mix or something and making it indeed very crisp on the back end. It doesn't feel muddy at all. But it's wild. Jeff Porcaro, his drum beat that like opens it opens with just drums and then adds everything else that's ever been invented that can make music or sound. But he has this opening little shuffle, and he described it as he was trying to do like the John Bonham "Fool in the Rain" bit, the bum 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 doo, doo, with Bernard Purdy's shuffle, kind of mixing those two together. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to it, it does sound like that. And now people will, like drummers will even call this the Rosanna shuffle. So he kind of creates this distinctive shuffle.
I got that. Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I think is cool about this song. Outside of it being like the most maximalist thing that exists, is that like there's so much like push and pull. It like adds and then it sucks all of that oxygen completely out and then does it again. There's a lot of dynamic occurring here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a lot.
Which on our episode about the loudness wars, I found out some people don't appreciate dynamics the way that we do based on the comment section.
Not everybody does. Yeah. Yeah. But like how you get, and I'll go off Rosanna in a moment, but it's a thing that bears discussion. When that pre-chorus ends and you hit the chorus, like I said, every little section of the song has to end with like, okay, now everybody play as much as you possibly can and then stop and then completely stop. And then there's going to be like an infinitesimal beat of silence. And then we're going to hit to the next part.
Let's go.
All the way. Ba-da-da. It's so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole lot.
When you have unlimited resources musically at your disposal, you tend to use them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really something. So apparently the basic track like was completed relatively quickly. Steve Lukather said that his original guitar solo was like improvised from the first time through.
Oh, he's just like ripping it out. All right, I guess my work here is done.
Yep. So the sense that I get is that like a lot of those core pieces, the rhythmic track, the solo, those have that like kind of first take spark to them. that formed the bedrock of it, and then they just relentlessly layered and layered and layered. But they still keep that initial spark in some ways, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, I've put 7 guitar tracks of different big muffs on one song. I understand.
Wow, look at you. Yeah. Look at you. So Rosanna is a big hit, but there's another song on Toto IV that I think has proved to be an even more enduring song over time. Okay. And that is, of course, the song Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
God Bless the Rains.
I do love this song. Like, unironically.
Do you?
I think some people like it ironically. I like it unironically. I like this song a lot.
See, I actually love Rosanna. If that wasn't obvious, I think Africa's like, okay. And brief note on this. I should have brought it in. At home, I'm sure I've shown you. I have the vinyl single. I guess you'd call it a 7-inch, but it's not. It's not. Yeah, bigger. They made it. It's both a picture disc and a die cut. So it's the shape of the continent of Africa, with kind of a circle around like the Sahara, and that's where all the grooves are cut. And then on the flip side is Rosanna as like the B side, or I don't even know how that's a B side. Anyway, it's a monster of a single.
It's pretty cool. It's a good find that you have there.
Yeah. So the funny thing about Africa is that not all the people in the band were down with Africa.
Yeah, and I've heard this before.
Yeah. So it's the lyrics specifically. Later band recollections, as they kind of talked about it, or like later on. Of course, they weren't going to go out and like say this at the time when this is a big hit, but years later, after it's successful and no one's feelings are too hurt because it's a massive single anyway, you can hear them all talking about it, and they're like, we heard the lyrics and we're like, allegedly one person said to another, like, what the hell do we know about Africa? We live in Los Angeles. God bless the rains down in Africa. Yeah,
I think that's what everyone was wondering. They were all questioning that too. I mean, I often wondered that. I was pretty sure they weren't from Africa, but it's the melody. Africa. The melody's too good. That's why. It's like the melody can erase any nonsense that the lyrics may contain because it's too good.
Yeah, you could certainly make that argument. And it's worth noting, I mean, this is like the 80s. Like we've got Live Aid happening. We've got the We Are the World bit where we got, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, and every other, musician under the sun. God, I've got to do a talk about that one time.
We really do.
But like a lot of Western pop music is thinking about like, I need to show that I care about whatever's happening in Africa, whatever that is. I need them to know that I care.
I know we're not talking about that right now, but because I'm wearing a Waylon Jennings shirt, he was supposed to be on that, and he famously showed up and was like, "No, this is stupid."
We Are the World.
Yeah. At least that's the story that I've been told. I guess I should research this for myself before repeating it as fact. But I've heard that story before. Yeah, he was just like, nah.
So this isn't all as weird as it maybe seems, because a lot of that stuff is happening, even though it's definitely just like somebody kind of throwing a random lyrical bone somewhere. They've never been there. They don't know what's going on in Africa. It's a little Coney 2012 for me.
I was going to make the same exact reference, actually. Yep.
Have you heard what's happening down there? You're like, I saw the same video you did.
Yeah, exactly. A band told me about it. Yeah. So now I'm an expert, I guess.
I know 7 minutes of a 60-minute special about that. That's how much I know. Yeah. 7 out of 60 minutes.
Yeah. Make Coney famous. It worked. We're still talking about it. So whatever.
Yeah. Who knows? Stay tuned later for the 190th episode of Tape Spaghetti, where we dig into the Coney 2012 movement and find a loose musical thread that we can weave in just to force this story that we both really want to talk about.
I only heard about that from bands, so it's not as loose for me. Yeah.
Maybe it'll be sooner, dear listener. Yeah. Maybe.
This is
Anyway,
episode 50. So for episode 54, watch out, everybody. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Anyway, so the band's not totally sold out on it. There's some reports that the reason it's the closing track on the album, and there's some reports that the band was like shoving it to the back in some ways, of like just keep it back there. Which I think is funny because like the final song is like that's one of the most important places. That's where you put the song that has the big long solo at the end. That's where you put November Rain or Paradise City or whatever the heck.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to bury a song on an album, you put it at like track 7 or something.
Yeah, or like 8.
8? Yeah, 8's probably better.
Yeah, somewhere in the back side of the vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work.
Anyway, it's a long shot that the band takes out here, and it hits. It becomes one of the most famous songs of the 80s, and maybe even more famous afterwards, which we will touch on a little bit later.
Okay, sounds good.
So anyway, Toto IV, if you haven't put this together by now, it happens. It works. Everything comes together. This is the peak. The band is not a has-been. The band is a has-now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are what's happening.
Rosanna's a hit. Africa's a hit. I Won't Hold You Back is also a big hit. At the 1983 Grammys, Toto IV wins Album of the Year. And they also win Record of the Year for Rosanna. And they also win Producer of the Year.
Which
they had
producer?
6 Grammys in total.
Who's the producer? Isn't there like multiple producers?
Let's see who's credited officially as the producer. I should know that, but I don't.
Sorry for dropping a bomb on you.
Toto are the producers. Yes. You're correct. Yeah, that okay, you're right. I was like, I didn't have like a producer credit because it's all of them. So yes, Producer of the Year goes to all of Toto.
I like it. That's probably how it should be in this case.
It seems appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One little like kind of fun footnote from this is that in the Grammys, David Paich sarcastically thanked critic Robert Hilburn for believing in us, which in fact he very much had not done that.
I love things like that.
Yeah, it makes me happy too. Yeah. They definitely like kept the receipts of all of the like bad critical response that they got for their music.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
You know, we'll talk about this more later. Like, I'm not like, even though I'm here talking about Toto to all you out there, I'm not like a Toto apologist. Like, I think their music is pretty schlocky. It's like definitely like that. It is like if Broadway was music on the top 40 chart, it would be this. Mm-hmm. So I don't disagree with the critics. Like, they in many ways can feel like a band if you had all the musicianship and you had all the songs, but you took all the soul out of it. It sometimes feels like that. You're like, wow, you've nailed this. You've painted a painting so perfect it looks like a photograph. And it's not that interesting. Mm-hmm. You did such a good job at the assignment that there's nothing really interesting. There's no style left.
It's something we've talked about in the Muzak episode and in the Compression Wars episode. There's something about humans making music that isn't perfect that makes it interesting. What is cool about Toto is also the thing that makes it somewhat less interesting, right? There's no mistakes. There's no, and maybe there is, but it's so thick we can't hear it.
Yeah, there's not. It's the Steely Dan problem.
Mm-hmm. It's weird when things are so perfect that they're too good.
And I think, I don't know this for sure because I wasn't born at the time, but I think that it's hard to appreciate with modern ears what Steely Dan or Toto or any of some of the Pink Floyd stuff this era, what that would have sounded like to people that were used to imperfections. Mm-hmm. Being like, oh my God, there's absolutely no imperfections. Now it sounds so sterile, but like we came up listening to music where perfect is easy. Like I said, you want a perfect drummer, hit the quantize button. No problem. Anyone can do this at home.
We have a program called Easy Drummer.
Yeah. Having a drummer playing wrong, that's expensive. You got to really record somebody doing that. Yeah. Yeah. I think it would have been different at the time in a lot of ways.
And then I just wonder about the public's ears in general, because like for instance, like metal's bigger than ever. And that in certain genres of metal is running into a similar problem with things being too technically perfect to where they don't sound right. But like harsher music in general didn't get super, super, super popular until maybe the last 20 years or so, as far as like its peak popular. Like Knocked Loose would not have been on Jimmy Kimmel, 15 years ago. That's not a thing. I wonder if some of the high production we've gotten used to, maybe starting with Toto, is what has kind of shifted a lot of the population to want to hear more aggressive, gravelly, scratchy things. Or maybe I'm just speaking about myself right now. I'm not really sure. Yeah,
I don't know. I feel that too. I really do. Anyway, I'm going to jump back in because I've got a little bit more of the story to go.
Let's go.
It might feel that we're at the end, and that would be a fitting climax. But these guys didn't stop. They kept on going. Whether they should have or not, who knows? Toto IV is kind of the peak of Toto. This is definitely like, this is peak Toto. But they keep at it. But they start, the original kind of lineup starts to shift and basically continues to shift for a long time. So David Hungate exits. Mike Porcaro steps into the bass role on their next album. Bobby Kimball, the sort of lead singer, if you will, was out of the band by 1984 with their record Isolation. For Isolation, they bring in Fergie Fredrickson to sing vocals. And of course, all the rest of them are singing vocals too. And this kind of begins their rotating frontman phase, the old Spinal Tap drummer thing. Joseph Williams fronts Fahrenheit and the seventh one. Jean-Michel Byron handles Past to Present in 1990. Paige, Lukather, Porcaro are all kind of writing on it. A lot of them are singing on it as well. Bobby Kimball, for his part, describes his departure as kind of part of that chaotic mid-'80s period where drugs are everywhere. People are arguing because drugs and also money. And he was just like, I gotta get out of here, man. This isn't exactly for me. David Hungate himself is like reportedly just kind of wanted to go back to the session thing, lower drama, go back to kind of a normal life. By the time
punch in, punch out type of thing.
Yeah. No arguing. You just do what the producer tells you to do.
Yep. I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. By the time we get to 1992 with their album Kingdom of Desire, Steve Lukather kind of has moved forward to be like the primary singer. The music gets a little heavier, a little bit darker. They don't sound like their old studio pop, kind of soft focus, yacht rocky thing by the 90s, Now, this is where kind of a tragedy occurs, unfortunately. Jeff Porcaro, who's, super important to everything about this band and their story, dies in 1992 at the age of 38.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. So pretty young. Every account of the band really kind of focuses on that. Like Jeff Porcaro is like one of the irreplaceable spirits of the band. Like not just like a member, like they'd already lost a couple of members and they were still kind of cooking in some regards, but he mattered. He was one of the core pieces of the band. But they still don't hang it up. We're a lot of records after they're seeing a ton of success, by the way, like a lot of them. And we are still cooking. Simon Phillips steps in as the drummer for Toto, so they don't have to dissolve. Evolving is what they continue to do. They put out Tamboo in 1995 and Minefields on 1999. On this one, Bobby Kimball comes back to the band, and then Falling in Between in 2006. Each of these albums has like a different grouping of lineups. All that gets very shifty at this point, but they're all really good, so they can all kind of jump in. So there are a lot of albums deep as a band at this point, and we've just for context here, because I've gone a long way here. So we started the last 3-minute segment at the 1983 Grammys, where Toto's the biggest band of the world. And we concluded And they're going up against Janet Jackson and whoever else. And we concluded in 2006
That's
where
a
they're
long
going
run.
up against Fall Out Boy. In the meantime, the sort of birth of commercial hip hop has occurred. Grunge happened and then devolves into butt rock. The European dance market is coming into the US in the late 90s. You've got bands like whatever you want to call Sugar Ray. Maybe that's a callback to the late 70s. We just make music and it's kind of catchy era. And then we've got new metal. All of this has happened and more. And still we have Toto. Still doing it.
But also like doing something else the whole time. They're not doing what I think most people think of as Toto, at least general public wise.
Yes, they are all like writing songs. In fact, Steve Page, it's human nature. He writes, this is a good time for this brief little story. He's writing for all sorts of people. Specifically, when Quincy Jones is going in to cut Thriller, you may have heard Thriller before by the artist Michael Jackson. Steve Page delivers
act. Yeah.
It's small but influential. Steve Page delivers a cassette tape of some song sketches to Quincy Jones. You know, everybody wants Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson to have their songs at this point,
of course.
Right? And Quincy doesn't select any of the ones that he was like kind of angling for, but as happens with cassette tapes, he just recorded over some stuff, right? And so when the final bit that he meant to be passing over ends, it cuts to this kind of sketch that he had for a song that he didn't intentionally send. It was just on the tape before. And Quincy called, is like, no, that's what I want. And he was like, oh, okay, I got that. You can have that. And that becomes Human Nature on.
Oh, that's a great song.
It's a great song. So I should also mention a lot of the Toto guys are involved in Thriller itself.
Okay. Well, that's a rather large feather in your cap as well.
Yeah, it's not bad. So like, as much as I'm yada-yadaing over the Toto stuff, these guys are still like the bedrock foundation of the LA studio music scene and working on all that stuff all the time. So Toto is what the public knows, but they're just working constantly. Exactly. And the reason that I'm not going into depth about each of their all music sheets from 1983 up to 2006 is that it would take forever.
We would be here. Welcome to part 6, where we go over Steve Lukather's discography.
What Steve Lukather was playing on in the era where Starbucks was scaling around the country. During this period, he was working with Kenny G and anyway. He's been doing it. So anyway, for simplicity's sake, we're in 2006. Toto puts out the album Falling in Between. Of course, you remember this, hearing this in between Fall Out Boy and Nelly's 4th album on the radio. It's just, you couldn't get away from it. No, they kind of, I was being sarcastic. They kind of scaled down a little bit. And by the time we get to 2008, Steve Lukather publicly ends Toto, saying the band has run its course. It's been, I guess, officially like 31 years.
Good run.
Unofficially, they've been playing together for a lot longer. So that's, would be kind of the end of the story. But just like you sensed about the band throughout their whole career, that isn't really the end of the story. Toto is the unstoppable band that you never would guess would be the unstoppable one. They reunite again in 2010. This is largely, again, a bit sad, but it's because Mike Porcaro was battling ALS. Steve Lukather said that the reunion was initially meant to kind of help him raise some money and all that. And then it worked well. So it grew into a broader return. And mind you, this is like 2 years after they stopped Totoing. They're like, oh, okay, we'll do a reunion tour. We're Totoing again. So they just keep on playing. They eventually make another album. This is Toto 14 XIV.
Toto 14.
From the year 2015. Yeah, it's the first studio album in almost a decade. And they're also doing some major retrospective products. They're doing projects. They're doing 40 trips around the sun and the all-in box sets. They're putting stuff out. They've got demos. They've got stuff. If you want to listen to music for the next year, Toto has you covered. Yeah. Sadly, Mike Porcaro does indeed die in 2015. So it's tough. They've lost a couple of important members by this point, but they're still kind of doing it. But then one unexpected thing occurs, which you may recall, which is that the band Weezer does a cover of Africa. And now my memory, this is really seen in the arc of the Toto story. It's kind of like coming out of nowhere is like, oh, why did they do that? I was there. I was in college in the 2000s and like early 2010s. We were playing Africa as this like sort of ridiculous song. It was there in the internet.
Yes.
Weezer didn't pull this out of nowhere. In fact, I remember when they did it, I was like, hasn't that kind of been done at this point?
Yeah, this was sort of a tongue-in-cheek song of our not quite youth, but our early 20s and mid 20s and whatnot, right? Like people were playing this and like you weren't
like
really.
Don't Stop Believin' started that way in the early 2000s. We were like, what a silly song. And then that became bigger than ever once they put it on High School Musical.
But it is a silly song, but I love it. You know? Like, yeah, both those songs fit that category.
Yeah, there was, when I was in high school and we were doing musical theater, a fun thing that we did, like in the men's dressing room, boys' dressing room, we just looped Don't Stop Believin'. And that's all that played throughout the whole show. And at that time, that was like edgy enough to be like, oh, how quirky and weird.
We did a similar thing where we drove to the beach and the rule was we had to listen to the Righteous Brothers, You've Lost That Love and Feeling on repeat until we got to the beach.
I might spin that after this episode.
That's a good song.
I think that might be coming for me. Anyway, on the heels of all of that, Weezer puts out Africa, which helps drive another renaissance for Toto, who hasn't even been away very long. They just put out an album like 2 years ago. But this hits and it leads to a big streaming renaissance for Toto. In fact, the band, like Toto, even comes together to play on Jimmy Kimmel Live to play Toto. And we're talking about like 40 odd years, no, not quite, maybe 35 years after it comes out, they're playing late night TV, being like, here is not Weezer, here is Toto playing Africa.
Why not? Might as well go for it. If you got a moment, you might as well seize it.
Yep. So, you know, you could basically make the argument that the internet ultimately decided that Toto had been right all along.
I think that they were. Yeah.
And mind you, they're not even really done. They're kind of still doing it. So Steve Lukather and Joseph Williams are kind of the principal custodians of the live version of Toto. David Paich is still involved. He's not really touring anymore, but he's still writing songs for Toto, Toto 50 or whatever they've got cooking up. The band officially says they've crossed 3.4 billion Spotify streams. And mind you, Spotify like came around like 30 odd years after their biggest album. And they still have cooked up over 3 billion Spotify things. They've got over 5 billion total platform plays all around. Africa alone has over 1 billion Spotify streams.
I was going to say about Africa is at least 1 billion.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're still as relevant as ever. Maybe more so, if anything. It's really hard to square. Before I sign off on this whole thing, though, I do have one story. So this is, I wanted to save this till late at the episode. All the good stuff's at the end. So what I really wanted to talk about in this episode, but I had to make a pivot because there's not that much information about it.
Okay.
But it's got to be a great story, and maybe this stuff will come out eventually. So, in January 2025, Rob Lowe, Rob Lowe, the actor, he said in his podcast that in his 1980s Brat Pack wild years, he recorded an unreleased demo with Toto while extremely high on cocaine. Yeah. Now, importantly, no public recording has ever surfaced, and Rob Lowe did not provide much in the way of details. But he did cop to this. And I can't, the image in my head of this, you've seen Boogie Nights, I'm sure.
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
Thomas Anderson. So, Dirk Diggler's bit where he like starts making, you've got the look. You got the look. But he's like, I'm going to cross over into musical stardom. And they're like, boy, that ain't really working. This happened with Rob Lowe. There was a moment where like he had done sufficient cocaine to be like, why can't I be a pop star?
Sure. I'm Rob Lowe.
I'm Rob Lowe. I don't need to sing. They've got technology. I've got Toto for that. I just need to be one of the people involved.
I would really like to hear this, kind of regardless of the quality of it. Maybe it's amazing. What if it's amazing?
It's not amazing, dude.
Oh, okay.
No, they definitely all were like, we will never speak of this again. And the word didn't come out about it for 30 years. Or I'm sorry, 40 years. I can't do math.
Until Rob Lowe did the same thing that we're doing right now. Podcasting, baby. The magic of podcasts.
Yakking about stuff. So yeah, I want to know so badly what the story is there, but there's no story yet. We can only hope that one day we will find out.
Listen, Rob, you're welcome to come on this podcast and debut it right here whenever you're ready. Come on, let's do it.
We've laid the gauntlet down.
That's right.
That's the only way you're getting on our podcast, Rob. You better bring the demo.
No, you can just show up and be gorgeous. That's fine too.
Oh, that would be acceptable too.
Yeah. If you want to, we'll do it.
So anyway, in conclusion, it's an interesting story about these guys. I think it's interesting to have like a bunch of session cats that all come together to just be like, let's be a band. And they are a band. And what does that band sound like? It sounds like Toto. And doesn't it sound like the way that a bunch of session guys deciding we should just make music would sound?
Especially of the era in which they got started. Like if you had not told me any of that, that would have been my guess. That's crazy. What a story.
They sound like what they are.
Sometimes that's the best way to do anything.
So my homework for you, dear listener, if you are like Blake and have never heard Boz Scaggs' Silk Degrees, you should listen to that. Like you don't have to listen to Toto after this. You know what it sounds like. But you should listen to Silk Degrees. It's great. I love Silk Degrees. Super good. Not you, Blake. Your time has passed.
Oh, I don't get to listen to it?
That was your opportunity has came and went.
Oh, man. I'm probably banned from listening to it on Apple Music.
That's right. Yep. They're not going to let you.
Oh, here it is. Blocked by Scott Marcourt.
Yep. I paid $20 for that.
That's incredible.
That's really how they're going to monetize music anymore. You can block your friends from being able to listen to stuff.
To be fair, I would block some of my friends from being able to have certain things.
That's honestly sweet. I wonder like how much money it would cost me to block everybody from being able to play Rock Lobster. Ever. Like just to erase Rock Lobster from existence.
I think it would cost you millions of dollars.
Millions?
Yeah.
Because like $1,000? I'd pay $1,000. I'd pay $1,000 to buy the NFT of Rock Lobster that no one else can have it. And I would do this for humanity. I would be doing a good thing.
I want to listen to Rob. Now what I'm going to do, because you blocked me, from Boz Scaggs, I'm going to listen to Rock Lobster constantly.
Good luck.
I'm going to boost those streams up, baby.
I'm
not going to do that.
They're high up.
I'm not going to do that.
Dear listener, because Blake always does the outros, and I want Blake to feel like he has had a week off of doing anything but being a fantastic listener and a funny reactor. So I will read us out. Blake, how does that sound? Does that sound okay?
That sounds great. I need to take a nap anyway.
Okay, good. Well, while Blake sleeps, it's just you and me, dear listener. And I've got a lot of things I've been meaning to tell you about Blake Weiland. You can't see my air quotes, but there were air quotes. Okay. Anyway, if you're still here, I hope that you will close off this podcast right now and go leave us a comment or give us a like or a subscribe, depending on the platform that you are. Whatever button you can push that does nice things for us, please push the button. Leave us reviews. Do all that stuff. Let us know what you think. I hope that you love this stuff that we talk about as much as we do. Even if you don't love it, I hope you find the story interesting. This is why Blake doesn't let me do the outros, because I just ramble. I just keep going. But the other thing that Blake says I have to say is tell a friend about this podcast. Blake's shaking his head. I'm doing okay at this. The most important thing you can do to us is send this episode or any episode to a friend that loves Toto or hates Toto. We don't play any Toto on here, so they're all equally welcome. because we can't afford the license from Sony.
Yes.
It's too expensive. So
Too expensive.
Go listen to it on whatever thing you want or don't. But we hope that you enjoyed the story. And with that, Blake, I'm going back to work.
Me too. I don't get to take a nap, actually. I wanted to one, but it's not in the cards. All right.
Bye,
everybody. Okay, good night.